we can talk about Detroit, and you guys know they've been a media darling all season long. They were my darling before they're the media's darling. I just want to go and put that out there and make sure any newcomers to Carving Up Live know this. I've been a Detroit Lions guy since the 2023 offseason, coming in that regular season. So let's just go and get this out of the way. Dan Campbell, what'd y'all do again, my man?
Kneecap.
That's what they did, 40-34 in San Francisco. Now, they didn't buy a lot of kneecaps on defense, at least until it mattered most. Detroit's great. Listen, I'm still iffy. It worked out in the end on Detroit playing their starters. Well, I think that at this point, that's kind of a moot point. That's not what I want to talk about. I want to talk about San Francisco, and I want to talk about Brock Purdy. So, there's been a growing trend in the NFL in the last couple of years with teams with young quarterbacks looking to get their first big contract. And teams, for better or for worse, have kind of just jumped in, pay them immediately. Be it Jalen Hurts, Jordan Love, Trevor Lawrence, Tua Tagovailoa. I mean, there's been a number of situations. In the case of the Cowboys, I think they waited too long both times to pay Dak. Somewhere in the middle is where you'd like, right? Like a Josh Allen has a great year, but has back-to-back great years. Like, that's a guy you want to pay when you pay him. Same thing with Joe Burrow. That's a no-brainer. Bengals took way too long on that. Justin Herbert. With Brock Purdy, though, the discussion right now has been, hey, is he worth $60 million? I'm not sure he's worth $30 million. Because Baker Mayfield, who's miles better than Brock Purdy, more accurate, doesn't run as well as Brock Purdy does, but decision-making is significantly better decision-maker, even though Baker can be a little loosey-goosey at times. I could trust Baker more, working with less at times. What this has been all season long is confirmation for what I believe about Brock Purdy for a while now. Because my thing was this on Purdy when he first came in the league. Okay, he's way better than Jimmy G. Now, I may have overestimated way better, but I think Jimmy G's a backup quarterback in the NFL. Jimmy's actually going to start on Sunday, so good for him for the Rams. But moves better, throws better, outside the numbers, over the middle, all those things. Liked him better than Jimmy G almost from the moment I saw him when he made his debut in 2022. Then the Niners start 5-0. He looks like the early MVP frontrunner. I'm like, holy cow, Niners might be unstoppable. If this guy's the worst player in your offense, you are really going places. And then they hit a 3-game skid. You remember this? They had that 3-game skid in the middle. Lost to Cleveland, Minnesota, Cincinnati. And it's like, okay, McCaffrey's beat up and Debo's beat up and the team's not as healthy as it's been and the defense isn't playing as well. And all of a sudden, we're seeing a significantly diminished product from one Brock Purdy. Well, the good news for him is that when the 49ers are healthy, when they have all their guys together, Brock Purdy has a record. If we can pull this up here, Brock Purdy has a record in his career of 13-1, and that one loss was to the Kansas City Chiefs in this past Super Bowl. No shame in that. The problem is when those guys are gone, when there is no Christian McCaffrey or Trent Williams, any of these guys, if any one of them misses a game, Brock Purdy, 6-13. With a passer rating in the mid-80s. The fact of the matter is that with this player, and I think you saw with reactions by John Lynch, remember when Purdy, I think when he threw that second interception, because Purdy was playing darn near flawless against a horrible defense, but darn near flawless for 2.5 or quarters or so, then throws the brutal first pick that kind of helps get Detroit back in it, and then down 3, as he did down 5 last week, and then down 3 the week before that, throws a pick to, in essence, ice the game. You saw the reactions by John Lynch, GM of the 49ers in that booth. Pretty demonstrative. Pretty like, oh, you've got to be kidding me. He's standing up, going full surrender cobra. It's like, oh, man, this is something here. Kyle Shanahan doesn't want to embarrass his guy, but he's Kyle can be a little bit of a hard ass to a certain degree. Like he's like, oh my God, what is going on? Even Kyle Shanahan said after the game, yeah, the turnovers are what cost us. We were playing right there with them, and then Purdy throws 2 picks. The reality has always been with this player is that when you plug him into the Kyle Shanahan offense, and I've been hard on Shanahan this year, my main criticism of Kyle is, as brilliant as he is, he can be a little too rigid to his play sheet. The good news, the other side of that coin is, yeah, because his play sheet's so darn good, especially, I mean, it's top 3 in the league potentially. So he can get away with that from time to time. But with a limited quarterback, it's not going to work. Brock Purdy, we know, is not physically gifted. He moves relatively well. He runs okay, but not a huge arm. Okay, like not a big guy that can take a lot of hits. That's now another injury to Brock Purdy. He obviously had the brutal injury against Philly in the NFC title game 2 years ago. He's dealt with injury this season. Now another injury to his nerve. Doesn't look like it's going to be serious. He's not going to play on Sunday. My man Josh Dobbs, Space Dobbs, is going to start. Go Vols on Sunday against Arizona. Meaningless game, but still. But that's another injury, so he can't take the hits. If there's one thing Brock Purdy's got to hang his hat on, great decision-making. Brock Purdy leads the NFL when trailing in the fourth quarter in turnovers. When you need him to be that dude, when you need him to be, a $60 million quarterback, he turns into not just a good quarterback, not an average quarterback, not a below average quarterback. He turns into an objectively horrendous quarterback when trailing in the second half in his career. Some of these games he has had all of the quote unquote Avengers in San Francisco. Some of them he has it. Same results. Here you go. Great graphic here by Alfred. Brock Purdy, when trailing in the second half in the regular season in his career, completes about 64% of his passes. Not horrible. 1,400 yards, 5 touchdowns, 13 picks, and a passer rating of 69. And the Niners have been beat up this year. Bad news. You get Brock Purdy, Dak Prescott, Joe Burrow money, forget about it. Forget about it. First of all, you're going to have to move on from Debo, who, as down of a season Debo's had, look better as of late. It's like, okay, there's the old Debo Samuel, kind of that late season surge that he seems to be accustomed to. Brandon Ayuk's beat up. George Kittle's getting up there in age. Christian McCaffrey hurt again. Trent Williams is probably the oldest offensive lineman in the NFL at this point. You're going to start losing pieces, and it's going to be hinging on John Lynch, on Kyle Shanahan, on the Niners personnel department to hit some just home runs in the NFL draft. And that's hard to do. That's not to say they can't. John Lynch, I think, is an amazing general manager. But it's when you are paying a guy who's around the 17th, 18th best quarterback, paying that guy top of the market money, you're shooting yourself in the foot, and you are ending any opportunity you have to compete for a Super Bowl. It's over if they decide to do this with Brock Purdy. The smart thing for San Francisco to do, because this is a weak quarterback draft. Now, I wouldn't be against the Niners going the route I think my Steelers should go, and that's draft somebody maybe 3rd or 4th round, not expecting him necessarily to be your franchise quarterback, but if he gets on the field next season, show some flashes, maybe you got something. We've seen plenty of diamond in the roughs going the 3rd, 4th, 5th rounds. Russell Wilson, Dak Prescott, Kirk Cousins, the GOAT Tom Brady, who obviously went in the 6th round. Hey, Brock Purdy was Mr. Irrelevant. Maybe you can find something in later rounds. You bring back Purdy, maintain continuity offensively, run it back. Kittle's getting older. McCaffrey's getting older. Trent Williams is getting older. You have injury history with the squad. Debo Samuel, I predicted when they made the Ayuk deal, Debo Samuel will not be a 49er in 2025. I am willing to state my claim to that today. It's almost impossible for them to make it work with the cap. Because keep in mind, they're also paying Fred Warner, Nick Bosa. By the way, 2 of the best on planet Earth at their position. Fred Warner, I think, is the best linebacker in football. They're paying a lot of guys a lot of money. You give this guy, and again, Purdy's good. He's fine. If you're working within a virtual perfect system, he can make it work. But the difference between Brock Purdy and Sam Darnold, I talked about this on Monday's show, because people are like, you're not as hard on Darnold. He went to a great offensive system with weapons. Why aren't you making an equivalency between these two? Because of what I said about Purdy earlier. Because he's not physically gifted, he sure as heck better be accurate. He sure as heck better see the field well. Sam Darnold, for all his faults in his career, he's always been physically gifted. It's just been a matter of, can he put it together? And for a long time, the answer was no. Now he's got Kevin O'Connell. It's like, oh, there's the Sam Darnold. That's why the Jets took him with the 3rd overall pick in 2018 and why he was as highly touted a prospect as he was. Folks, there's a reason that Brock Purdy was Mr. Irrelevant. Now, obviously, he's outperformed that draft status, no question about it. That was a very weak quarterback draft. Kenny Pickett, Desmond Ridder, other guys like that. Malik Willis. Purdy was obviously the best guy in that draft, but there's a reason he did go that low. He's fine. If he's playing within a structure, you're good. But we need him to be Superman. When you need him to be who you're going to eventually have to, if you decide to, pay him like these guys, a Patrick Mahomes, a Josh Allen, a Burrow, a Lamar, a Justin Herbert. If you're going to rely on that guy to be those guys, heck, these days, Jaden Daniels, to put the team on your back and you be the force multiplier, you get the best out of everybody else as opposed to vice versa. Again, it's not a knock on Purdy. He's a good player. He's a good quarterback. He's no scrub. He's no bum. But he needs everything to go almost flawlessly. I mean, I've seen Josh Allen put some crappy Bills offensive lines and no running game on his back, get to some AFC title games. I mean, I saw Mahomes with the Chiefs injuries in terms of the wide receiver unit this year and in the running game, put the Chiefs as back, could continue the winning streak until those guys got back. Now the Chiefs look great. Look at what Joe Burrow's doing this season. Yeah, he's got Jamar Chase, T. Higgins. That's all he's got. O-line stinks. We're not sure about the coach. Zach Taylor's no Kyle Shanahan. That's putting it mildly. And the defense is horrendous. Yeah, the Bengals are 8-8. Is that Joe Burrow's fault? You see what the man's doing? Putting the team on his back? I mean, we've seen it. Heck, Dak Prescott last year. People are going to laugh at this, but it's CeeDee Lamb and crickets. Not a whole lot else. And the man almost won the league MVP last year. So, listen, San Francisco, if you want to pay this guy, knock yourself out. But it will cripple your franchise and any opportunity you have to win a Super Bowl. And you've been oh so close. I mean, you really think the problem's Kyle Shanahan? Really? The guy that took Jimmy G to 2 NFC championship games and a 10-point lead in the Super Bowl? That's the problem? I don't know. We get to a very dangerous point in San Francisco. And I've heard a lot of the Purdy supporters say this when it's, Kyle should have called the plays better. Okay, Deebo Samuel, we need you to do this. And Ayuk, we need you to catch balls, which, by the way, Ayuk couldn't catch to start the season. But you get the point. We get to all these guys before we get to Purdy. That's not how we do any other quarterback who we at least consider elite in the league. We go straight to the quarterback or straight to the coach. And if we don't get to the quarterback first, we get to him second. For some reason, some folks don't want to do that with Purdy, and I don't get it. So it'd be a disastrous move to pay this guy. Thanks so much for watching the show on YouTube, and be sure to go click that big red subscribe button and check out the other clips and full shows from Carving It Up Live, as well as our other incredible content creators here on the Grid Network.